Good morning. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I hope you guys took a break from schoolwork. I didn't turn Edmodo on hardly at all this weekend, so I apologize if you were sending me messages and I didn't get them. But we're back at it today. So this week we are working on those final drafts. Okay, that final draft of your paper is due on Thursday. So I'm going to give you guys a revising checklist today and give you pretty much an assignment every day for working your way through that revision checklist. So you're not having to spend hours and hours on it all at once. We can chunk it up into smaller pieces. Tomorrow we will have something for that Gothic literature, so be looking for that. I'll be posting some sort of an assignment for Dracula and Frankenstein, those two passages that you read. And then I'll also be posting later on this week some other things that we're going to do moving forward. I want to get back into some vocabulary study and maybe even try a couple of other platforms for us to do some practice with literary analysis and different reading practice type things that can help us in the long run. Okay, so today I am posting that revising checklist, and I can show that to you now. Here it is. All right, this is something you may have seen before, like way back in August. It is 2 pages of things to go back and look at in your paper. And we're going to start today with just the first few, okay? So I want you to spend about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more, but spend at least 30 minutes, let's put it that way, revising your paper, okay? And in that 30 minutes, here's what I want you to concentrate on. Okay, first, I want you to check your MLA format. All right, check your margins, make sure they're 1 inch all the way around, that you've got the entire paper double spaced, and that your heading is correct. Okay, remember that your heading is your name, my name, the class, and the date. If I go back and find one of those papers that I showed you guys the other day, let's just pull up this one. There it is. This is what I'm talking about when I say heading. This part right here, including the title. Okay, so you can see he has 1 inch margins. It's double spaced all the way through. There are no extra spaces in there. Okay, it's just double spaced. And then he has his name, teacher's name, class, date, title. Okay, and you can just come up with some sort of title that is relevant to whatever topic that you're doing. Okay, all right, so that shouldn't take very long to fix just those little things. So then we can go on to number 2, making sure you have all the necessary components of your paper. So go back and read your introduction. All right, does your introduction provide some frame of reference, some sort of historical context, or whatever is appropriate for your topic? It's going to be different for everyone, okay? But does it have some of that background information for your reader to get a full understanding of the premise that you will be stating in your thesis statement, okay? And then go to your thesis statement. Make sure that you can find your thesis statement and that you know exactly what your thesis statement is. Okay, on Thursday, when I'm asking you to copy and paste things into your test document, that's going to be one of the things I asked for, your thesis statement. So you can go ahead and underline it now. That way it's super easy for you to find on Thursday. Okay, the second thing on this list, item B, go back and look at your concrete details. Make sure that you have used enough evidence in each of your paragraphs. Remember that each paragraph has to use at least 2 pieces of evidence, and those 2 pieces should come from different sources. Okay, now many of you, I've been looking, many of you have used more than 2 pieces of evidence, which is great because that means you're, trying to go above and beyond with just the minimum requirements. But minimum is 2. It may be that you have some paragraphs with 2, some with 3, some with 4, and that's fine too. You don't want to overload too much, maybe one paragraph, but they don't certainly have to be exactly the same. All right, and then item C there is the commentary. Okay, you need to really ask yourself this. Okay, for each piece of evidence, did you stop and explain that evidence to me? Explain what it means and why it's relevant and why you chose that particular piece of evidence to go in that paragraph. How does it all relate? All right, someone asked on the blog, maybe over the weekend, do we actually have to have 2 pieces of evidence? 2 sentences of commentary for each piece of evidence. And, well, it doesn't have to be exactly 2. You could easily have more than 2. But I would say 2 is a minimum. Sometimes it's more like 1 sentence before the evidence and then the evidence and another sentence after. Some people like to sandwich it a little bit, and that's okay. As long as there's plenty of explanation to go along with it, you're good. You just don't want to get in the habit where you're just listing evidence. There's this and this and this and this and this. Okay, because then you're not, great, you've got all this evidence, but so what? If you don't stop to and explain it, I really don't know all the connections that you're trying to make. Okay, so take a little bit of time to make sure that you have enough commentary for all your evidence. And then go back and revisit your conclusion. Conclusions don't have to be long. They don't have to include direct quotes, but they could, especially if you have a really powerful one that you feel really sums up your whole paper. Often the conclusion will kind of restate and summarize some of your main ideas, but I personally think it's more powerful to let your conclusion offer some sort of final statement where everything gets, brought together. Echoing back to your thesis statement, but not simply just repeating everything that you've already said. Okay? All right, so that's number 2. Let's look at number 3 because they go together. Because number 3 is asking you to double check your parenthetical citations. Okay, so I would suggest, and the instructions are going to be sound a little odd maybe because the instructions were intended for you to have a printed copy of your paper so that you could actually be highlighting and underlining and circling and doing whatever. And I'm guessing most of you didn't print your rough draft, so you're doing all this on your computer, and that's okay. So it says to highlight every citation. Okay, go back and find every citation. All right, so that you can find the evidence clearly. Folks, listen to me here. If you're looking at your paper now and you don't have any little parenthetical citations, then you've plagiarized your paper. And you need to go back and fix that immediately, even if it takes you more than 30 minutes. Okay? I doubt very many of you have done that. So go back and find all those parenthetical citations within your paper and then look at what comes right before it. If it's a direct quote, make sure you have the lead in. Ask yourself, what kind of lead in is it? Have I punctuated it correctly? All right. Do I need to add a lead in? Is the information that I put in parentheses, is that correct? Okay. Go through every single citation and verify that you have all those elements. Lead in, direct quote, parenthetical citation. Or if it's not a direct quote, you just paraphrase something, then paraphrase, everything's in my own words, parenthetical citation at the end, okay? And remember that the period goes after the parentheses, all right? That might take you a few minutes as well, depending on how many mistakes you made, obviously. I looked at a bunch of them, and a lot of them are done right. Few of you put like PG, you'd put like Orwell, PG-3. The PG doesn't go there. It's just Orwell 3. Or here, look at the example. Orwell 341. Look at that Orwell. He doesn't have a PG in the middle. He doesn't have a comma in the middle. It is Orwell 341. That is correct. If I saw you make that mistake, I probably wrote you a note. And if I haven't gotten to yours yet, I will continue to send notes through Edmodo for any of these big mistakes that I find. All right. So like if I find something huge wrong with your MLA or your citation, or you have no citations, I will send you a note. All right. I'm not sending a lot of comments on your content. All right. That's, that's more on you. But some of the technical stuff, I am sending comments. Again, if I haven't done yours yet, maybe you didn't have any comments, or maybe I just haven't gotten to it yet. All right, let me go back. All right, then the last thing that we're going to work with today is your be verbs. And I say, and that's number 4 on the list here. And I say that's the last thing because really we want to spend at least 30 minutes, but we don't want to go too far overboard because I know you have work for your other classes as well. So for number 4 on our list today, I want you to go back and I want you to find all those be verbs. Maybe you don't have very many. Maybe you were already very conscientious and didn't use a lot of be verbs. Fantastic. But most of us, when we're writing a rough draft, just try to write as naturally as possible, and we speak in be verbs. But it's a really lazy way to write, especially when you're trying to write in a more formal manner. So I want you to go back and find them, circle them or highlight them, and then I would say that most of you can't get rid of them all in one day. So try to cut it by half today. Try to get rid of half, like in each paragraph even. Say, okay, in this first body paragraph, I have 4 be verbs. I'm going to get it down to 2. Okay, we can go back and spend some more time later on this week. And in fact, that's going to be one of the suggestions that I make is that you spend a little bit of time with the be verbs every day until you can get rid of as many as possible. All right, so that means some of you would have more work than others, but I think you get the basic idea. However many you end up with today, try to cut that by a significant number, maybe even in half. All right, now, if you have extra time and you want to keep working through the list, that's always allowed. You can see some of the other things on here, and this is going to be posted on Edmodo, so you'll be able to access it at any time. So you can continue working if you want to, if you need to, all right? But I kind of have it broken up so that we're doing 3 or 4 things a day, and then a couple going back and doing a couple of things that are a little bit more time consuming, so that by the time Thursday rolls around, everyone's papers should be ready to go, so that you'll be able to submit both a copy of your paper, and you'll also be submitting the test document where I'm asking you to copy and paste all those technical details, those lead-ins and citations and so forth that we have been practicing. All right, so it'll be 2 assignments that get turned in. Okay, so that pretty much covers the revising assignment for today. I will be around on Edmodo to answer questions, but I want to show you something really quick about questions on Edmodo. Okay. You can see the same thing I can see, but when I post something, there it is. And then if you guys get to, then there's comments, then there's questions, then there's comments, then there's questions, then there's comments, then there's questions. Things get buried really easy. So there's a couple of things that we can do. If you have a question that really applies to everyone needs to see it, then go ahead and post it on here. That's what it's for. But what you might want to do is go up here to messages and shoot me a private message. Okay, especially if you're asking a question that is specific only to you, like you're dealing with a very specific aspect of your paper. Okay, that might help us a little bit with things getting too buried. But it's just the nature of the learning platform, and that's going to be true whether we're using this or whether we switch to Google Classroom later on. It's going to be that way. So it is our responsibility, mine and yours, to go through and make sure that you're checking all of that to make sure that any relevant information hasn't gotten buried in there. You can always go through and check the calendar as well. This planner takes a little bit to load, but it does show up, and it shows you what we have this week. So